Hello everybody. I am going to teach you today how to do a one-sheet wonder. And I know a lot of different people do this, but there's so many different possibilities. I just wanted to show you one more time through. What I did to prep, and you are welcome to do this eventually too, but I took the back piece of a 12 by 12 designer series paper, the cardboard that comes in the back, and I mapped out where I wanted to cut my cardstock. And what I did was, first of all, I cut it in 4-inch sections. So there's 4 inches, 4 inches, and 4 inches. And then I labeled it with the size that I wanted the cardstock and then what card it corresponded to. And we'll walk through that in a minute. What I need you to do if you want to stamp along with me is grab a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock. And that's what I forgot to do. I grabbed everything else. Let's see if we can use one of these. Grab a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock, grab 6 whisper weight or basic weight pieces of cardstock. You can use thick or you can use the regular weight, whichever you'd like. You need dimensionals, seal, adhesive, a black ink pad or any one color ink pad will do, whatever matches your designer series paper, and a pair of scissors. Did I say dimensionals? You need those too, and some sticky notes. That would be helpful. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to start by cutting. Let's start by cutting our cardstock. Let me get this stuff out of the way. It's really hard to do a camera shot with a 12 by 12 piece of paper and get you to see everything, so I'm going to be rearranging stuff quite a bit, and I apologize. We're going to start by prepping our card bases, and our card bases, we're going to do 6 card bases that are kind of more traditional in size. So we're going to do 4 1/4 like this, score it at 4 1/4, turn it the other direction and cut it at 5 1/2, and then you've got 2 card bases already to go. We're going to do that 2 more times. So again, take your cardstock, slip it in at the 8 1/2 inch side, score it up 4 1/4, flip it around and cut it at 5 1/2. Last time on this cut. Score at 4 1/4. I always have to make sure and get my cutting blade out of the way. And cut at 5 1/2. Now we've got 6 card bases that are the traditional half of an 8 1/2 by 11, scored in half. Now the last 2 pieces of paper, we're going to take these and we're going to reverse the process. We're going to go 5 1/4, score it first, and then cut it, flip it around and cut it at 4 1/4. This just saves a step. Instead of cut, score, score, we're doing score, cut. And so again, score at 5 1/2, turn it a 1/4 turn, and cut at 4 1/4. Now we've got 4 top fold cards and 6 side fold cards. We'll put those aside. Now the fun part. We're going to start cutting all our pieces for our layering. Now, what you want is you want a piece of cardstock that is not directional. Although this could be directional, at least it's not like puppies standing on their head if I get it backwards. So I'm going to go ahead and pretend this is not at all directional. And I'm going to cut this in 4-inch hunks. So I'm going to cut 4 inches here. And again 4 inches, slide it over and go 4 inches. So now I've got 3 4-inch pieces. And this lines up or matches up with what I've got mapped out so far. like this. If you can figure out how to get a 12 by 12 inch clean spot on your desk, what I'm going to have you do is go ahead and lay these out just like mine. Obviously you don't have the map drawn out already, and you don't necessarily need one, but it's going to keep me organized, so it's kind of fun to have one. So I'm going to set this to the side. I'm going to take one of my 4-inch pieces, and I'm going to cut the first one at 3 3/4. Okay, so I've got my 3 3/4, and now I'm going to take this and put it right there on my map so that I know where it goes or where it came from. My next piece is a 1/2 inch, so I'm going to go ahead and cut a 1/2 inch right here and put that on my map. And again, you're just reconstructing, cut it apart and then reconstruct your 12 by 12 piece of paper so you know where everything is. This next piece I'm going to cut at 5 1/4. So just keep sliding it over. 5 1/4. I'm going to lay this piece to the side. I'm going to turn this piece the other direction and cut it down the middle at 2. And now I've got, back to my map, I've got 5 1/4 by 2 and 5 1/4 by 2 that go right there. Now this next section, I'm not going to pull the map in back and forth, but we're going to do a 1/2 inch, a 3/4 inch, and then we'll have a 1 1/4 inch left over. Oh, you can see it right there. That works. All right, so we're going to cut this at a 1/2 inch. And so this goes right there. And then our next one is 3/4 inch. And I know I'm going a little bit fast for somebody who's not seen this before, and that's okay. I did this on a Facebook Live this morning, and I wanted to redo it in a cleaner copy so that you could follow along and start and stop where you needed. And then this piece left is 1 1/4. All right, now coming back to our map, we're going to start with our second row down here. This is going to be 2 3/4, so I'm going to pull in a new piece of paper. And when I first do this, or when I normally do this, not teaching it, but for myself, I cut 2 or 3 pieces of paper at a time, 2 or 3 thicknesses, and that way you've got it all cut. It's a lot to follow along with, and so if you cut them all at the same time, it's kind of cool. Okay, so that goes there. And now these next section, I've got 4 by 1 inch pieces, so I'm going to cut 4 1 inch pieces. So we're going to slide this over, and that's the nice thing is the way I'm cutting this is you can just keep sliding your paper over and measuring, and it works really well. There's 2. Wiggle it in there. 3. And again, make sure your paper is always squared off so you get a nice sharp edge and a sharp corner. 4. And now this piece left should be 5 1/4 by 4. Let's see if we got it right. Bring in our map. I'm just afraid of sneezing, I swear. Like, what would happen if I spilled this? I'd have to start all over. So 5 1/4 by 4, that goes there. And then these 1 inch pieces came right from here. All right, down to our third layer. We're coming along really well. Okay, let me pull this up. And I know this is going to be hard to see because I cannot get this in the shot. I can't figure it out. But this is 3 3/4, 5 1/4, and then we'll worry about this little section down here in just a second. Okay, so 3 3/4. 5 1/4. And I'm going to go ahead and place those on my map so I don't lose them. And now I've got this little section down here, and I'm going to turn this so you can see it. I know it's going to be sideways, but this little section right here is for my card number 1. And it's going to be, right now it's 3 inches by 2 inches. No, it's not. It's 3 inches by 4 inches. And now I'm going to cut that in 4 little pieces. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to turn it sideways. Whoops. Oh, look, I almost spilled them. come back. Close enough. I know where they came from. As long as you know where they came from, we're good. Okay, so this is 4 by 3. I'm going to turn it this way and cut an inch off. No, I'm not. Backing up. Okay, I'm going to turn it sideways and cut it in half so that it's 2 identical pieces. Like that. So it started out like this, and I cut it in half at that 2-inch mark because I know tall wise it was 4 by 4. Now I'm going to pile it on top of each other, and I was trying to save a step. I was trying to be economical here, and I almost blew it. And now I'm going to slide this over to the 1-inch mark and cut both of those pieces at the same time. So now if I pull in my map again, and I'm going to show you this briefly, and then we're going to pull it back off because this is card number 1. Alright, so now there's that 2-inch square went there, that 1-inch piece went there, that 1-inch piece went there, and that 2-inch piece went there. And that's my 12-inch by 12-inch piece of designer series paper. It's all cut and ready to go for my 10 cards. Isn't that cool? Now the problem is I put all the numbers of the cards up underneath. So we're going to have to reverse the process and see where everything came from. So this I know right here down here was card number 1, and you can number these as any way you want. I would probably start up here and call this guy up here number 1. It just makes more sense, but this was designed by somebody else, so I'm going with it. Alright, so let me pull in, if you have your Post-it notes right now. I just drug my sleeve through it. Darn it. Alright. Okay, don't wear wingbat sleeves while you're doing this. Okay, I can get my cutter out of the way. I do need it one more time, but I don't need it for a while. So here's card number 1. And I had already cut pieces, but I'm doing it again. So I'm going to put these to the side. And right here, I've got, because I'm using my You Are Amazing stamp set, I've got these white pieces measured out. This is 1.5 by 2 1/8. And again, this will be on my blog post, January 27th, 2021. So if you need to refer back to any of the measurements or any of the sequences, you can refer to that blog post. Again, January 27th, 2021. And I'll have all the measurements written out there as well. Okay, so I've got a 1.5 by 2 1/8 inch piece that fits right there. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull my pieces off of my board like this and stick them with a sticky note so that when we go to make the cards, we're all ready to go. Now I've also got my card bases right here. So let's go ahead and add those to the pile as we go. I'm going to have to make some space. Okay, so this is a traditional fold card. So I can go ahead and put my cut up pieces onto my card base, under my sticky note, on top of my sample. Here, let's do this. Let's put the sample like that. And this is card number 1. Oh, so much for being organized. Alright, that's card number 1, ready to be stamped. I'm going to flip this over onto an area that you probably can't see, and then we'll start with number 2. Okay, number 2, here's the card. And I'll show these many more times while we're stamping. This piece, these white pieces, you need 2 1/4 by 1/2 inch. And then it's this big piece right here. So if I pull in my board, see where I drug my sleeve through it? It's this piece right here. No, it's not. It's this one right here is should be number 2. This one up here. So 5 1/4 by 4. Alright, so let's get this organized. It's this piece and all these white pieces, those three little white pieces, on a traditional card base. So it's this one right here. We're going to pile this up. I'll close it in my card and put number 2 on there. Obviously you're not going to have the samples just yet, but you can do the same process, and we're just going to kind of keep organized. Here's number 3, and number 3 is this. It's 4 by 3 1/4, I believe. It's this one up here in the corner. So here's number 3. We're going to use this piece, which is 4 by 3 3/4 and 4 1/2. Those two little pieces right up here in the corner, the top corner. So I've got those pieces. That does not require an extra piece of white, and it's a top fold card. So I'm going to pull in my long piece of cardstock, those two pieces. I'll go ahead and sandwich it in that card to hold it there, and then I'll put my number 3 on top. And again, just a couple of post-it notes numbered 1 through 10 is amazing. Here's number 4. It does have an additional piece of white, and it's 2 3/4 by 2 1/4. And again, if you're not using the same stamp set, you can cut this however you want. And you might want to go ahead and construct all your cards and then decide what your sentiments are later, and then decide how big you want your white pieces. So again, this is a top fold card, so it's a top fold. I've got my piece of white. Now I need to decide on my map where am I in it. I think it's this one right here, number 4. So just that next one on the top. So I've got all of that. I'll sandwich it in there. And I know this is kind of tedious, but it's going to feel a lot better while you're stamping and you know where everything is. We could totally do this one at a time and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But this just feels better to me. Okay, here's another top fold. One that's just a full frame of the card and then a scrap to put your sentiment. So on our card map, bringing our card map in, this bottom one right here is card number 5. And again, I know this is overkill, but I'm trying to help you figure out how to stay organized while you're doing this. We'll go ahead and put this, tuck this inside my sample and put number 5 on there. Okay, halfway through. Number 6 is a top fold card as well. I believe it's this bottom one right here, and I do have a 6 down here, but I can't get it to where you can see it. I can't get it. Oops, I just wiggled my camera. I can't get it close enough to my camera. Look, it's there. There's 6 and 5, and then that corner was 1. I just can't get this camera to pull back far enough and make sense. Okay, so top fold, number 6, and this piece to go with it is 3 3/4 by 3/4. And again, if you're doing any different sentiments, of course you can use what works for you. You don't have to make these sentiments be the same size. Die cuts would work. If you had a whole bunch of little die cuts already cut out of white paper, that would be kind of cool too. Okay, this one, number 7, there's a piece that goes with this that's 3 by 4 1/4. And it's this piece right here. You can use it as a layer, or you can make the whole card without this layer. It's totally up to you. But that's what goes with number 7. And I know number 7 is, boy, we're clearing off our little board, aren't we? It's like reverse bingo. Number 7 is these 3 little strips right here. So those 3 right there in the top corner are number 7. So I'm going to put these, tuck these in. And then this is a traditional fold card. And honestly, by now you only have traditional fold card bases left. And so we're caught up. Number 8, you've got 3 little pieces that are 2 1/2 by 1/2 inch, so they're kind of little. These could be the scraps that when you trim your white cardstock, those would be perfect for that. A traditional card base again. And then these are those 4 little pesky 1-inch pieces in the middle that I can't keep straight. Just like that. Okay, almost done. So that's card number 8. And again, the measurements are on my blog. Card number 9, I've got 2 pieces. There's 2 3/4 by 2 1/4. I'm trying to get this so you can see it. And another piece that's 2 by 1. On a traditional card base. And it is this piece sitting over here all by its lonesome. That's spot number 9. Okay, 10 should be easy. It's everything left. It's this piece right here, a traditional card base, and no other layers. All right, that's card number 10. Again, I'm going to pull this in so you can see it. I really wish I could figure out how to get you to be able to see this bottom edge. This down here says 6. This says 5 right here, and these 4 are 1s. Again, this is 6, 5, 1, 1, 1, and 1. And that's our card map. I'm going to go ahead and put this off to the side. I don't believe we need that anymore. Now what I'll show you is here's my pile. I've been piling this off to the side. If I can flip it very carefully, now I've got everything in order and ready to stamp. That was a ton of work, but we're going to make 10 cards and they're going to be very unique and different cards, so that'll be kind of fun. Alright, let me grab something to stamp on, and then we'll grab card pile number 1. Again, you can follow along with these measurements, or you can do your own thing. Like I said, if you've got die cuts, that would work really well. So I'm gonna put this off to this side and then put the card there so you can follow along and copy. Let's do the stamping first. We're gonna go ahead and take our little white piece of paper, and certainly you could, actually I kind of do. I kind of want to use the Midnight Muse instead of the black this time. It matches the cardstock a little better. And so I think I'm going to go ahead and take my Midnight Muse instead of my black. Let's do that. I just changed my mind. Imagine that. Alright, so I've got my Midnight Muse ink pad. I've got my piece of paper there. And I've got my Happy Birthday. I'm going to go ahead and ink this up. And the only thing is this is a clear mount stamp set, so you don't get to see all the way through. So if it bugs you to have these already cut, then certainly you can cut afterwards, stamp and then cut around. That's fine. Alright, so now I'm going to bring in my card base. And this, you can map this out. Let me put this off to a little bit more to the side. You can lay this out if you want to, or you can just kind of wing it. So I think I'm going to put this here like that, and then this one goes here, and that one goes there. You've got, if you look at the sample, there's about a 1-inch perimeter around this card. So we're going to kind of eyeball it and get it sort of where we want it, but then we're going to pick it up and put it down anyway. But this kind of gives you an idea. It gives you a little bit of an idea of where to put things. It also just kind of reminds you which side to put glue on. See, this one I didn't flip over. I want it like that. if you feel like these aren't spaced properly or whatever, keep in mind that your sentiment is going to be right over the top of the intersection of those 4 pieces. So it's not going to be that big of a deal if it ends up being a little bit crooked or whatever. It's going to be fine. So we've got those 4 pieces right there. And now I'm going to take dimensionals. And I am definitely happy about the choice of ink pad colors. It just goes better than the black does with this piece of paper. And then see this, the sentiment goes over the top of where all of those 4 would intersect. So if it was crooked, nobody's going to know the difference. Okay, so that's card number 1. We'll put that to the side. Let's see where... Good grief, my desk is a mess again. All right, card number 2. Card number 2 is a real easy one. We're going to stamp the congrats on 4 small pieces of paper, and then this just gets stuck down, framed on the card base. And this actually folds this way. If you want it to fold this way, you can certainly do that and put your congratulations or your congrats a different direction. I've got my card base here. I've got my flowers. And these flowers are very slightly directional. Or maybe not. Yeah, I think, so you can put it however you want it. I think they look pretty good this direction. Whoops, but they don't look good crooked. It wouldn't be me making cards if I didn't put at least a couple of these down crooked first. Just eyeball it. And then glue it down. You've got a couple seconds, not really with the Seal Plus, but with the Stampin' Seal, you've got a little bit of time. I'm going to lay these out, and I've got my congrats. It is a cloudy day out today, and it's the weirdest lighting. I had to change my lighting about 4 times before I was able to get it even this good. So if the lighting is off, I apologize. I just can't get it any better today. It's a weird kind of day. But I really wanted to get this done so you could see it. Okay, so there's our congrats 3 different times. And then I'm going to just take dimensionals. Whoops. And I'm going to stick dimensionals on the back of all of those. You don't have to. You could put dimensionals on 2 and not the middle one. You could put dimensionals on none of them. You can do whatever you want. This is what I'm going to do. It's amazing. I've made this set of cards with this card map 3 or 4 times. And it's amazing how one sheet of paper can make a set of note cards look totally, totally different. I'll show you. I'll bring in my one sample. Well, this sample. I did all of my card bases in white, and it just looked really good with this particular paper. But like I said, this one I wanted to do something different, so we're going to go ahead. We're using Midnight Muse, right? No, Misty Moonlight. Oh my gosh, did you hear me say that? Midnight Muse was like 100 years ago. This is Misty Moonlight. I can't believe I just said that. That's funny. Alright, so that's card number 2. See, once you get everything organized and in a pile and whatever, it's kind of really fun just to get to construct. And so that's why I go through all of those fussy steps. It's because it just makes the stamping part so much easier. Here's card number 3. I'm trying to figure out how to get that glare out of there. I still cannot get glare out of my camera today. Alright, this is a top fold. It goes just like this. And this piece, now there's a right way and a wrong way. This should frame it better one way over the other. You want this to be 4 inches across. It still works the other way, but I'm not going to have room for my words if I do it this way. So I want it to be 4 inches across. There's just not a lot of measurement difference, so you really have to lay it out and try it before you glue it down. I'm going to put it this way, and now I'm going to take this other piece and flip it backwards so that the contrasting piece shows. That just gives it a little something. Now the trick is to get this to snug up against the other one and be straight on the corners. Alright, in this particular one we're going to use You Are Amazing. And I'm going to go ahead and ink that up. And you don't have a whole heck of a lot of room down here, so you've got to be really careful where you aim. But that looks really good just like that. You are amazing. Yes, you are. And then look at the difference the 2 different kinds of designer series papers made. Isn't that crazy? Alright, that's card number 3. Card number 4 is a top fold as well. Get the sticky note out of the way so you can see what we're talking about. It's a real easy card. So we're going to top fold this. You're going to take this piece and put it here. But before I do that, I'm going to stamp the stars. And I want to do them kind of swirly. But I don't have to come, if you put this here, you know you don't need stars there. So you just want to put them kind of down this direction. You can do other flowers, you can do whatever you want. I'm just using what's in the stamp set and kind of making a design. And again, you can make this look however you want. I'm going to go ahead and put one there and one there just to fill in some space. It's totally up to you. I'm going to take this piece. This is the oh, what's it called? No, I can't remember. Whatever the art stamp set is in the new springish mini catalog, the January to June. It's gorgeous. Alright. And this is going to say hip hip hooray, 3 cheers for you. Okay, the stars don't exactly coordinate with the flowers, but I'm okay with that. Now this piece looks a little big to me. And I cut it, I stamped it a little bit crooked, so I think I'm going to be brave and just straighten it up by just taking that little bit off the edge. Again, whatever sentiment you're going to use, you can cut your cardstock to whatever size makes sense. I kind of wish I would have had a bunch of die cuts sitting here laying around to see what those would look like. That would be kind of fun. You know, like the stitched rectangles, the stitched ovals, things like that. Those would be really cool. I'm going to make sure that I got sticky off of that. I'm not adding embellishments to these, but ribbon or sequins or rhinestones, any of that would look kind of cool. Now that really doesn't look that bad with those stars. It's not my all-time favorite, but I kind of like it still, and it looks good there too. Okay, so that was card number 4. Card number 5. Card number 5 is a top fold card again, and it's one full sheet that fills the card, and then just this happy birthday bubble. That's going to be easy. So top fold. Decide which direction your flowers are going to be. I kind of like them like that. I don't know why. There's really no difference. Not really. We're going to put them just like this. And again, just center that, stick it down. And now this is where it gets interesting. We've got, in this stamp set, we've got a big giant word bubble. So I'm going to ink this up. I want to get kind of a lot of ink on it because I want it to stamp fairly evenly. But I'm going to stamp it off once. See how dark that is? Twice. And then on my paper. And that caused a little bit of a shadow, but that's okay. And then, where's my sample? the happy birthday. So we're going to pull the happy birthday back in. You know what? I'm not crazy about that. Let's do it again. We're going to go stamp off once, stamp off twice. You know what it's doing? I didn't realize that. It's picking up the ink on my blotter. Do you see that? That's why it's uneven. Watch this. This is weird. I didn't know it could do that. So stamp once, stamp off once, stamp off twice where you don't overlap any of the ink, and then it's just fine. It was picking up the ink from the blotter and doubling it up and making it darker. That is so weird. I didn't know it could do that on, because this is really pretty absorbent paper. That surprises me. But that's what it was. Isn't that weird? Okay, now I can take this word bubble and cut it out. And it's pretty easy. Can you see? You always want to leave some white space. And normally I'm kind of lazy. I rest my arm on the table that's got the scissors in my hand and then take the other piece of paper and move it so that my scissors are just opening and closing in one exact position. And then it's just easier to cut that way. You can do it however you want. That's just the easiest way for me. Now let's go ahead and stick a bunch of dimensionals back here so this doesn't wiggle loose. And then this just goes on this card. My problem is it's designed to go right there. And there's a really cool flower right there. I want to cover it up. I guess we're going to have to. You got to cover something up, huh? Okay, so there's that. Here's my other sample stamped in black. Alright, onward to card number 6. Now card number 6 is the one where you're going to need your cutter again. And we're going to pull this out, and I'm going to stick it back in my cutter, and I'm going to cut 1.5 inches off of this edge. So I'm going to stick it in long ways, like this, so it's long to the side, and I'm going to cut off 1.5 inches. And that's just going to be scrap for now. And I'll fold this, and it's going to open like this. Okay. Now I'll take my, well, let's show you what you're aiming for. It's just that right there. So this piece is just barely not square. And so you're going to, again, you're going to have to lay it down. There's one way that fits really well, and then the other way that isn't going to fit at all. So make sure you know which direction you're going to set it down. It's not by much. There's just a teeny bit. No, see, that's not going to work. It goes this way. There's just a teeny bit of difference of it being not square. So we're going to put that down like that. Then we're going to take the thanks. And we've got this little bitty piece right there, which happens to be 3 3/4 by 3/4. And I'm going to stamp this in the middle. And then we're going to have room to cut a banner. And to cut a banner, you normally cut up the middle, just to give you something to aim for. And then cut from the corner to that middle spot again. It just kind of gives your eye something to aim for when you're cutting. Oh, that turned out really well. I don't always love my banner notches. I'm going to cut that. And what I'm trying to do is kind of mimic the edge of what's already there on the stamp. So I don't want these too deep. I kind of want them more shallow, like the stamp part, so it looks like that. Alright, now this can go on my card with dimensionals. The only trick is, watch this, if you put dimensionals on the very outside edge of your banner, you might not be able to fit it here without going over the edge and sticking to the bottom of your card, sticking to back here. So wherever you place this, you want to make sure that you're going to put your dimensionals in the right spot. So I'm going to center mine on my whole card visually from left to right. So I know that I need my dimensional more like here instead of way out here on the end. Did you see what I did? You don't want to put your dimensional way out on the edge and then end up sticking it to the back of your card. That would not be a good card to open. And there's card number 6. And here it is in white. All right, moving right along. Number 7. Number 7 has a base of white that's 3 by 4 1/4. And you do not have to have this piece. Do you see what it looks like this? Oh, I could have cut mine out of blue, couldn't I? I'm going to leave it white, and it's going to be fine. So you've got your card base. You've got this piece right here that you can certainly stick right to your card without having this piece. You can stick all the Designer Series paper directly onto your card without having that bumped up piece, but it's kind of fun. So we're going to go ahead and do it that way. We're going to go ahead and fold this in half. And like I said, since I'm doing this in blue, I could have totally cut this piece out of blue, but I forgot. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take these pieces and we're going to lay them out how we want them on our card. I want this to be the opposite color. And this like that. So if I lay these out like this, I can kind of tell how much edge I want to put on here and how much I want down the middle. If I just kind of eyeball it, I certainly would not measure this. So that's about where I want it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the outside pieces and glue those down first. And then if I get it a little wonky, I can split the difference with the middle piece. So there's that. We'll take the other outside piece, or you could put this one over here and this one in the middle. There's really no one right way or wrong way to do this, which is kind of nice. Now I'm going to take this one and put it here. Actually, wait a second, hang on. Here's what I want to do. I'm going to change my mind. Here's what I want to do. I want to put this one here. Wait a second. I want to match up the flowers. That's what I'm trying to do. I think it would look really cool if the flowers lined up. So I'm changing my mind. I'm going to pull this one up and I'm going to put this whole thing together like a puzzle. Maybe. I'm going to try it. I'll take that piece off. Nobody's going to see it anyway. Alright, so now what do I want to do? This one goes here. How was it on my map? It was, this piece goes to there, and this piece goes to here. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and lay this back out, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal if it was something super fussy, but these flowers are really pretty like this. So instead of turning it upside down and doing the opposite piece, I changed my mind. Here's what I want to do. I want to puzzle it, piece it back together again, and match up the flower designs so that these flowers are exactly where they're supposed to be. They're just a little tiny bit separated, and it gives it some really cool character. Good grief. Okay, this is what not to do. Do you remember how I said I was going to do the outside pieces first? There's a reason for that. Because I got them all crooked. Starting over. Now I'm going to see if this middle one will come up. It may not. I kind of want it straighter than this. Okay, do as I say, not as I am trying to do, because it's not that easy. I had this great idea once, and then I had to fix it. Alright, now I'm going to put this down centered between those two. And now see what I did? I just puzzle pieced those flowers back together again so they match, they line up. Okay, I like it now. Thank you for being patient with me. I can cause a mess out of absolutely thin air, and that's exactly what I almost did. This is a pretty big piece, so I'd put a dimensional in the middle, otherwise I noticed on my other card it kind of sags a little. Alright, this goes here, and now, wait a second, again, hold the phone. I'm going to hold this off to the side. I've got You Are Amazing on here, and it really, really hogs up a lot of room at the bottom. So I'm going to put this down first, and now I know how high up I need this to go. And it's probably not going to be centered. It's going to need to be pushed up a little bit higher. And now there, finally we got card number 7. That took a while. I just like how these flowers are painted together, and I wanted to keep them that way. There's no reason to break that art up. And there's card number 7 in the other design. Alright, finally. Card number 8. Imagine that. Alright, this one has a piece, a little white piece that's 2.5 by 1/2 inches. So we'll pull all these apart, and it's going to look like that. So again, oh, I didn't need 3 of these, I only needed 1 of the white pieces. So let's go ahead and stamp that and get it out of the way. Now this, the directions set a 1/2 inch. That's pretty tight to aim on. Let's see if it even fits. Oh, just. Okay. So those two are overkill. Now, again, I'm going to take my pieces and puzzle piece them and put them back down on my card. So here's what I want to do. I want to go ahead and decide where those were when they started. So those two for sure go together. This one goes there. And it looks like this one goes there. Do you see how that is where I cut them from? Alright, I'm going to put these 2 pieces on first and then split the difference to the outside. This is not going to be an exact science. I'm going to guess, and it's going to be close, and I'm not going to worry about it if it's not. That one goes there, and then I'll split the difference and put the outside one on the other end. Again, I want to puzzle piece these so that the artwork stays, and I can pull this out a little bit more. There's a little bit extra. These are not cut proportionally, so this edge is going to be bigger than this no matter what. It's just kind of how the card was designed. And this one goes next over here. But do you see how pulling that apart and keeping the integrity of the artwork is kind of cool? It makes it just a little bit interesting without understanding that it's deliberate. Like that. And I missed on the sides. Don't tell anybody. I'm sure you can aim much better. It will be just fine. If I were going to foof up this card, I'd probably put a bow over here or something so that your eye wouldn't know the difference. And then we're just going to put our congrats right there. And then we've got both of our cards. If you tilt your head, there's nothing crooked about it, huh? All right, number 9. We've got 2 pieces, and it's 2 3/4 by 2 1/4, and then 2 by 1. And this is a really easy card. We're going to fold this like a traditional card. It's a side fold card. And then we're going to glue our designer series paper onto the middle. And it's just going to get framed a little over an inch, it looks like. I have no idea. But even on all 4 sides. Now this piece is going to get this hip hip hooray. But this 3 is a second layer on top of that. So we're going to go ahead and put down the hip hip hooray like that. And then on this piece, I only need to stamp the word 3, so I can kind of see where that's going to land through there. And it's crooked, and that's fine, because I'm going to take this and trim it pretty closely to the word, because this is going to layer up. And I want to see the words behind it. Alright, now this, I feel like that's cut too big. I don't want to make those flowers disappear. So I'm going to trim this. I normally don't do this much hand trimming with scissors because I am one heck of a crooked paper cutter. That's why God gave me a paper cutter, because then I don't have to cut crooked. This is crooked, and I'm going to just have to deal with it. Let's see if I can get this a little straighter. It's like cutting my own bangs. Oh my gosh, that's a mess. Alright, so dimensionals on this. I just didn't want to cover up all the flowers. You can do whatever you want. Okay, so we're going to stick this down in the middle. Oh, much better. I just like seeing the flowers. And then we're going to take this 3, and I want to bump that up too. We took all the time and trouble to cut it out. We might as well be able to use it like this. So I'm going to take this, put dimensionals on that, and then take that and stick it right over the top of the words that are already there. And you can see down in back that there's layers. And then here's our black and white copy. Alright, you guys, we're almost done. Card number 10. Thank you for hanging in. This one's an easy one. We're going to fold this. Although it's a side fold card, like a traditional card, the fold is going to go towards the top. And then we're going to take the thanks, this little bannery dude. You can use any long sentiment, would be really good. And I'm going to stamp it right there and off to the side. Just like that. And then this piece of paper, this designer series paper, goes anywhere you want up here. You can snug it down to here, you can push it up to the top. I kind of like it closer to the banner. I think we're going to put it there. And it doesn't go quite to the edge, so you want to center it like that. And there's card number 10. Let's bring in the sample. And there's the black and white version. Pretty cool. Let me get this ink pad out of the way, because holy cow, I would get ink everywhere. Now, let's see what we've got. There's card number 10. There's 9. There's 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. And 1. And that was all out of one sheet of 12 by 12 cardstock, or designer series paper. Isn't that great? I love that technique. Anyway, if you need more details or more directions, this will be posted. I'll put the video on my blog post too. It'll be posted tomorrow, January 27th, 2021. And all the measurements will be there as well. And again, it's my blog. It's SusanLeggets.com. And let's see if I have that written down for you. Here it is right here, SusanLeggets.com. Thanks you guys for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'd love to help. Thanks. Bye.